Could Claudia Winkleman's Fringe win its own BAFTA?
Was A Bug's Life based on a story by Kafka? Hello, listeners. Yes, it's real. Answer Me This is back in the year 2025.
And don't we look exactly the same as we did in 2007? Don't answer that. Hi, how are you?
It's a podcast. They can't see us. Hooray for audio.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being, to use a word from our early days, whelmed about our return.
I'm not saying people are overwhelmed because I think they're coping.
Yes.
But what... Whelmed suggests indifference. Thank you for your positive non-indifference.
I think it's whelmed plus, isn't it? It's a turbo whelmed.
Turbo whelmed. Thank you for being turbo whelmed. Thank you for being not indifferent but different.
There are a pleasing amount of people for whom 2025 appears to be marginally less bleak as a result of our return. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Including us.
Yeah.
Wow, I enjoyed going through our inbox, and I rarely like to go near an inbox, but I was thrilled to see your life updates, your myriad ideas and questions. What a treat.
And thank you, Martin the sound man, for joining us again, even though you live in a flat with Helen, so you kind of had to be here.
Hi, hello.
He could have just stayed in the toilet the whole time.
Who's to say he isn't?
Well, I am simply agog to answer some questions again. It's been nearly 2 years. I'm ready.
Hi, Helen and Ollie. Welcome back. This is Miri in Manchester. I'm planning a trip to the Pencil Museum in the Lake District for my birthday later in January. I'm really excited and hope it's everything I've dreamed it to be. But we all know that what really makes a trip to a museum great is the gift shop. So, Helen and Ollie, answer me this. In your opinion, which museum has the best gift shop in the world and why?
One of the things that gives me joy in life is a museum gift shop.
Sure.
And often I don't even progress to the museum.
You're only human. I actually went to the Van Gogh exhibit at the, what's it called? The National Gallery, right? Mm-hmm. The big one in Trafalgar Square. The one with the paintings.
Yeah. The big shed full of paintings.
It was a big blockbuster exhibition, and I was sort of lucky to get a ticket, and I went in the evening. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time where I thought, actually, I know this is a very, very shallow compliment, but I did think, do you know what? The exhibit is better than the gift shop. I was in the gift shop and I thought, it is now absurd to buy a reproduction of that painting I've just seen, because that painting I've just seen spoke to me and was amazing to look at. And these repros on tea towels and aprons look laughably inadequate.
That's a good experience to have.
It was a nice realization, yes, that art means more than just consumerism.
This isn't purely decorating something I'm going to dry my saucepan with.
I guess it's just the vividness of his colours, you know? So, like, it's so eye-popping when you see the real thing that then when you see it printed on anything, it looks ridiculous. Although, that said, I mean, having read the biographical notes as I went around, if only Vincent van Gogh had spent a bit more time in the asylum painting flowers directly onto aprons and beer mats, he would have evidently had a more successful career.
Oh, if he'd just been doing some occupational therapy.
Yeah. But there are some sensational museum gift shops out there.
I think what I want in an ideal gift shop is not reproductions of the thing in the museum, but interpretations of them, or objects that, if you like that, then you'd like this. That kind of thing. Yes.
An algorithmical gift shop.
So my mind immediately goes to the Spam Museum in Austin, Minnesota that Martin and I visited in 2019.
I think you may have mentioned that on our last episode, or definitely the one before that.
Every single episode since I went there in 2019 has explicitly or implicitly been about the Spam Museum in Austin, Minnesota. It's a free museum. The gift shop it does contain Spam. You can get a 12-pack, all different flavours of Spam. Didn't get that, but I did get a bandana with Spam printed all over it, and a Spam slicer that I've never used because I don't eat meat anymore.
Is it branded?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, then it doesn't matter if it has no practical purpose, because then it's a bit like we went to Germany for our summer holiday last year, and the best souvenir that I bought, this wasn't exactly a museum, but when they have a tourist gift shop that's so comprehensive it might as well be a museum in and of itself, we went to this extraordinary cuckoo clock shop.
Nice.
And we got a cuckoo clock.
Oh, amazing.
And every hour it goes off, it reminds me of my summer holiday, which is actually really nice. Doesn't need to do anything more than that. I don't need to take pleasure in the way it looks. Just that little thing is like, oh yeah, that was nice when we were sitting around a lake and not working.
So once an hour, it's like, holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it automatically turn off in the night, or do you have to do that manually?
It's a good question, and one that is of pressing concern to my wife, because we do sleep above it and it doesn't turn itself off in the night, and I don't mind, because when it does wake us up at 3, I think, oh, holiday. And she thinks, fucking hell, throw that thing in the bin, set it on fire.
Sometimes you don't want a memory of a happier time. Sometimes it's an intrusion that ruins your sleep. But that's cool. Martin got from the Spam Museum a cap that he still wears. It's a bit discoloured now, but it does say Spam on the front in yellow embroidery.
It's relict. I was wearing it we went for a cup of coffee in San Francisco, and someone walked past wearing, was it a Spam hat or the same cap?
Someone walked past wearing a beanie from the Spam Museum.
It was a beanie, that's right.
Hold on. You were in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Where's the Spam Museum?
Austin, Minnesota.
That's very far away.
Yeah, that's like wearing merch from a museum in Prague when you're in Cardiff.
Or rather, a museum in Cardiff when you're in Prague, because I think there's probably more tourism to Prague.
And our friend was like, oh yeah, you got the same hat. I said, did you get that in the Spam Museum? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, that's really cool.
And she didn't want to have a conversation about spam with you?
She didn't seem that keen to be spam spotted.
It's interesting.
She was friendly, but she had a business.
You know what she thought was, oh God, there's a weird spam guy. Like he's spotted that I'm wearing a spam hat. Now he wants to talk to me all about spam. Oh no.
But I didn't. It was a friend that pointed it out. I wouldn't have even have noticed.
Yeah, I mean, I know that. I know that from your perspective, you could have equally felt the same thing. Oh no, there's a spam stalker wearing spam gear walking past me. Oh no, this is a mistake. But she doesn't know how you feel.
Maybe it happens all the time. She's like, yes, I've been to the Spam Museum. That's the 12th time today.
Here's a question from Katie from New Zealand who says, I'm so glad you're back. Yay. AMT was the first podcast I ever listed to. Now, she means listened, but given that the question that's about to follow is a nautical one, I think it's an amusing typo. She says, in my past, I used to be a professional traditional tall ship sailor.
Wow.
I don't know off the top of my head what a tall ship is. Is it something you were aware of, Helen, before researching this question?
It was. And also Katie included 3 photos of the tall ships, and
yes.
They're very beautiful, with tall masts with loads of sails on them.
She continues. Sometimes this comes up in conversation with new people, and understandably, many don't know what a tall ship is. I describe them as, quote, the pirate ship-looking ones, and that always does the trick. Mm-hmm. However, I'm not a fan of describing my ships in this way. My ships. As I'm not so keen on pirates after having had a scary run-in with actual armed pirates on one voyage.
Whoa.
We've discussed before the yawning gap between fantasy pirates like in Peter Pan and actual pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, she says, sometimes this then leads people to jokingly ask if I've ever met pirates while sailing, which means I can lie and say no, or tell the truth and potentially drastically change the mood of the conversation.
That's what they deserve, if they ask.
It's not what she deserves, is it?
No, true.
She doesn't want to have to do it every time.
No, fair
She
enough.
says, I'd rather avoid that whole business. So, Helen, answer me this. How do I succinctly describe tall ships without mentioning pirate ships? I've tried referencing old-time Antarctic exploration ships or the Master and Commander movie to dubious success. Using the term square rigger hasn't worked, I'm not surprised. And I'd rather not mention Captain Cook, Columbus, or any of those guys.
Reasonable. Sailing ship. What do people picture when you say sailing ship?
Oh no, then I'm thinking modern.
Oh, okay, fuck it.
I was in Southend this summer, and they had on the pier what was advertised as a historic Spanish galleon. And even though I couldn't tell you what a modern Spanish galleon looks like, those 3 words in combination were enough for me to get the idea.
Yeah, and I know that a galleon is not precisely the same kind of ship, but...
Yes, and she knows that, and that would be problematic. She continues. Surely there's a better way than pirates, though. I've attached some images of a few of my past ships for reference. Your brilliant thoughts are greatly appreciated.
Yeah, show them the pictures. Get out your phone and show them a picture. Keep it as the background for convenience, or print one out and laminate it, because they're beautiful. It's interesting to see. And immediately I think people will be like, oh yeah, I recognize that, even if they don't know anything about them. And then you don't have to compare them to other cultural products which you have found limiting and misleading. Because how many people have watched Master and Commander recently, or seen an Antarctic exploration ship of the past?
You could say, like a ship in a bottle type ship, and that would do it.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Why don't you carry around a ship in the bottle? You'd be like, yeah, it shrunk because of the seawater since I worked on it. But, Katie, sorry to get angry at you because you sing great, but if you don't want people to talk about pirates, don't bring up pirates yourself, because then you're putting pirates in their heads. Lead by giving them some information about what you used to do in such a way that gives them several avenues for follow-up questions, rather than them scrabbling around for anything they know about ships and the only thing they know is pirates. Like, give them funny facts about your daily life. Was there something weird about the toilets or the beds? People love hearing about that shit.
No, but that's stressful as well, isn't it? Like, desperately trying to pounce on them before they say the word pirates is hard.
No, it's not stressful because she's going to prepare this and it's just things she wants to talk about. What do you want to tell them? Just lay the groundwork.
The thing is, when people are reaching for pirates, they're reaching for drama, and that's not drama she wants to give. So the examples that she does give do have to be equally dramatic, I think. If she goes with your advice, it needs to be like, I'm going to have to make one up because I don't know anything about tall ships. Did you know that polishing the mast in the morning took 10 hours?
Yeah.
Oh, it really hurt my knees.
That's what I'm saying. The very quotidian stuff will be fascinating to people, and that will keep them away from pirates. And if they do say, like a pirate ship, just say no and shut it down.
Or, here's my suggestion, just say, yes, like in Muppet Treasure Island.
Oh.
Because then you're thinking of Kermit the Frog in a charming little sailor's outfit, and who doesn't love that? You're not thinking pirates, even though Treasure Island is the same. If you say Treasure Island, you're thinking pirates. If you say Muppet Treasure Island, you're thinking Kermit.
Another option, if you don't particularly want to chat at great length about what you did or what the ship was like, ask them if they've spent any time on the sea, and then they'll just tell you about their cruise or whatever, and you might be bored, but it's probably not going to end up in pirate chat.
Yeah, well, unless they're like, yes, actually, I was a pirate. We captured this woman in New Zealand once on a tall ship.
Well, then finally your chance for revenge.
Helen and Ollie, it's Joe from Bristol here. Welcome back. I've missed you. Not a huge amount has happened in my life since your last episode, apart from I have listened to pretty much the whole Answer Me This back catalogue, 392 episodes. So I only had 8 to go, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with myself when I ran out. So I'm glad you're back. My question is, why is the duty-free trolley on an airplane still a thing? I've never seen anyone buy anything from their collection of chocolate multi-packs, aftershaves and cancer sticks. Does the extra weight being flown around the world really pay for itself? And how can the carbon footprint be justified when you can buy exactly the same shit at the airport? So Helen and Ollie, answer me this. Will there ever be a day when those poor stewards can rest their tea-scalded arms and not drag that trolley up and down the cabin mid-flight?
Great question. Have you ever bought anything for one of these trolleys, either of you? I never have.
Have I? I often buy things
on
the duty-free trolley. Yeah.
Is that because you're bored?
Yes. I mean, it's something to do, isn't it? To look through the catalogue. It's up to, 8 minutes of fun? And then you're trapped, you're a captive audience. One of the things you can do, they're coming past you anyway. You're inconvenienced anyway because you can't walk to the bogs whilst they're coming. Why not buy some aftershave? It isn't true to say that the prices are exactly the same as in the airport. I drink Bombay Sapphire. I frequently get it for about £3 cheaper on the plane than I would have done in the airport, and I don't have to lug it up to the plane. But in terms of the economics of it, let's put it this way. The likes of Ryanair and EasyJet would not still be selling duty-free stuff on board unless it was profitable. You're right that the trend is that a lot of big national carriers have stopped doing this because there's not a huge profit in it, and it is kind of cumbersome for their carbon offsetting propaganda. But it does make a profit, otherwise they wouldn't do it. And basically what you can put that down to is if you're on a low-cost carrier where your seat might, say, only be worth £20 of profit, then how big is the trolley? It takes up like 3 seats worth. So that's 60 quid. It only needs to make £70 and it's made more profit than having sold the seats.
And if you buy the Bombay Sapphire, do they then hand it to you or do you have to wait until you get off the plane? Because you're not allowed to drink it on the plane, are you?
As I found out to my cost, no, they want you to drink those stupid miniature bottles, even though you just have bought a perfectly serviceable 3 litres of gin.
Why would they not want someone drinking 3 litres of gin when they're trapped in a metal tube with them?
Exactly.
Baffling. What is the best thing you have bought in an airport or on a plane?
I can tell you on a plane the best thing I've ever bought, but you're going to say it's ridiculous, and it is ridiculous.
Okay.
That's what. This is why I think shopping on a plane is not ridiculous, because you have the license to spend 10 minutes thinking about a ridiculous purchase that otherwise, in real life, you'd be like, I don't have time for this. I'm not going to weigh up the pros and cons of this. This is clearly absurd. What I bought was some beach powder.
Tell me what that is. Do you mean sand?
Like talcum?
Yes, Martin, it is. It is a talcum-esque product.
For getting sand off you?
Specifically for removing sand from skin on the beach, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's useful.
Yes,
Does
it
it
is.
work?
Not ridiculous.
It actually works. So, okay, I'm glad you think that, because I think a lot of people look at it and like, why didn't you just bring some talcum powder?
Those people have not had sand on things.
Right.
I hate having sand stuck to my feet as I'm trying to put shoes on and to exit the beach.
And I'd seen it on Dragon's Den, and I thought that's fun. And then I had the opportunity to actually buy some, and I thought, that tub of beach powder, that's going to last at least a decade, and it's only a tenner. I can afford that. I can afford £1 a year to have some fun with a novelty product.
And do you ever get in trouble travelling with a big tub of white powder?
It's pink, I believe.
Oh, I remember reading that planes would save a small but significant amount of fuel if they stopped handing out free newspapers on planes. And it is many years since I've been given a newspaper on a plane, which is good because it was almost always the Mail, which I don't want.
Yes, I really struggle when the only free paper is the Mail. I quite like it when it's a business-focused one, like when they have Condé Nast Business Traveller, and you're like, yes, I'm going to pretend to be that guy. I'm going to read about where I can stay in the Maldives for 10 grand a night whilst I'm on this plane just to live in a fantasy. But yeah, my fantasy doesn't involve reading the Daily Mail. I already live in suburbia.
I'm sure that we have some flight attendants listening, and I would love to hear their views on this question, because just picking up on what Joe says at the end, will there ever be a day when the flight attendants can rest and not drag this trolley up and down? They don't seem to get a lot of rest on a lot of flights anyway. There'll just be some other thing they have to do, because passengers, it's like having a plane full of toddlers.
I mean, obviously, there's huge safety elements to their job, right? That's why they're really there, is not to sell you perfume, but to keep you safe. Actually, there's a safety element to keeping everyone in their seats, isn't there? Because you're keeping the weight distributed across the plane, you're stopping interactions between people that can turn nasty, etc. And so actually, again, I think that trolley coming down the aisle, which you then can't walk past for half an hour, keeps everyone in their seats for longer, which is actually safer.
I think just so much about the airport and airplane process is about being compliant rather than about safety. So yeah, that would track with my theory there.
Wake up, sheeple. In this life we all have questions, so why not email your questions to answermethispodcast@googlemail.com. 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 answermethispodcast@googlemail.com.
So, retrospectors, what historical events are we ticking off on this week's run of Today in History?
On Monday, how 17th century Europe got over its Roman inferiority complex.
On Tuesday, the day the US military pulled out all the stops for an international manhunt.
On Wednesday, haggis, whiskey, optional deep-fried Mars bar, it can only be Burns Night.
On Thursday, the day a middle-aged Yorkshire farmer became Britain's first reality TV star.
And on Friday, chimps in space.
We discuss this and more on Today in History with the Retrospectors. 10 minutes each weekday, wherever you get your podcasts. Time for a question of books now from Barbara on Patreon, patreon.com/answermethis, who says, Helen, answer me this. How do authors get paid if a library buys their books? Do they get paid for the one book, or is there a bonus the more times the book is borrowed?
It really depends where they are, because about 35 countries have something called a public lending right, which is the right of authors to receive payment for free use of their works in libraries. The first one is, I think, from Denmark in 1946.
Ooh.
Quite a lot of European countries have got them, and outside of Europe, it's more rare. I think it's just Canada, Australia, Aotearoa, New Zealand, and Israel. And authors have to register. I remember this when we had the Answer Me This book out in 2010, and I think I was too lazy to fill in the form. It's not automatic. I think about 20,000 authors are signed up for it in the UK.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I did fill out the form and we have made no royalties, so you wasted no time there.
Hey, but you've been able to buy a house and I haven't, so that's probably the difference.
Definitely with the royalties for Answer Me This book. Because what happens is you need to have made £1 before they bother sending the cheque. And Answer Me This has not been borrowed from libraries enough to make £1. I think it's 9p every time someone borrows it. So fewer than 9 people have ever loaned our book.
It's gone up. It's 13.69p.
Oh, there we go then.
I think probably libraries don't like lending out books that they know are exclusively going to be read in toilets. That might be a problem.
Or be kept because they're so fucking awesome.
That could be it. That could also be it. Yeah. Yeah.
So the PLRs work differently depending on where they are. And by the way, it only pertains to the country that the author is in. So like if a British author has a very successful book in Australian libraries, they're not getting paid for that. Mm-hmm. But yes, they do get the royalty, if eligible, for the purchase of the book in the first place. And then a fee, it's calculated in different ways wherever it is. So in Britain, it is for each time the book is borrowed. Until fairly recently, it was a small sample of libraries.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of rubbish. So if your book
harsh.
was only available in some regions, you were getting nothing, even if it was really popular there, if those regions weren't in the sample.
Or if you're like Irvin Welsh is massive in Scotland, but no one's reading him in Cornwall, you know?
Right. A couple of years ago, they have tried to update that a bit because it was unfair and discriminatory. But I think the maximum an author gets is £6,600.
Right.
And most authors get less than 100 quid.
Or in our case, less than £1.
Yeah, yeah. In Canada, it's like some extraordinary equation where it's not per lend, but it's like which proportion of libraries in the sample have a copy. And then the author gets a proportion, as do the other contributors, like the illustrator. And then the longer the book has been in the scheme, the payment gets less. So it goes from like 100% in the first few years to 50% after 16 years or something.
It's still not that much, though, is it? £6,600 per year. I mean, it's right that they changed the law.
No, and in Canada, it's like $4,500, which is more like £3,000.
If you're actually a big best-selling author, you know, if you've written a massive book, £6,000 is a tiny proportion. You know, you might make 500 grand out of a massive book, right? So I guess you have to say, well, it's sort of the free publicity thing, isn't it? Most people who are borrowing the book from the library wouldn't pay for it. So I'm supporting the community, but also then they're more likely to buy my books in the future because they've read one, or tell their friends about it, or give it to someone else who might like my stuff. It's a marketing thing, isn't it, as much as anything?
Yeah. Well, also, if it's really popular, then they will sell a lot of copies to libraries and they will get the royalties for that.
Yeah, so that's just as if they'd sold the book anyway, but then it gets read more.
Here's another question of books from Sigpig in Bavaria. I've just been leafing through the first few pages of a couple of new books on my reading pile. The dedication pages caught my eye and got me thinking. Ollie, answer me this. Must a book be dedicated to a person? Does it always have to be a different person if the author has popped out several books? What if an author has no friends and can't abide any other person, alive or dead, to whom they can dedicate a book?
No, it's your book. You can do what you want. I don't think we had a dedication in our book, did we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Who was it to?
It's dedicated to the questionnaires.
Okay. Sorry. You guys forgot. You could choose not to dedicate your book to anyone. And actually, authors do sometimes dedicate their books to audiences whose existence is almost conceptual. I mean, it's one thing us saying to our audience that know us from online. You know, sometimes you see dedications to like the children of the future, everyone who dreams big, that sort of crap. So no, you can write whatever you like.
You could dedicate it as a diss if you could that committed to not liking someone.
Yeah, my favourite one of those actually was P.G. Wodehouse in Heart of a Goof. Do you know this one?
No.
To my daughter Leonora, without whose never-failing sympathy and encouragement, this book would have been finished in half the time. Quite good.
I mean, that's sweet.
Another good diss is E. Cummings, the poet, dedicated his self-published book, No Thanks, to the 14 publishers who had turned it down and printed their names in the shape of a funeral urn.
Oh, that's the kind of pettiness I enjoy.
It's not exactly a dedication, but I do remember Dennis Potter talking about how he named his cancer Rupert because of how much he disliked Rupert Murdoch.
Sweet.
Some other kooky dedications. Professor Peter T. Leeson, in his 2009 book, The Invisible Hook, The Hidden Economics of Pirates.
Pirates.
Had this unusual dedication. Anaya, I love you. Will you marry me? She did.
Oh, that's nice.
When did that proposal land then? Was that when like the proofs turned up at the house?
Right.
I've got the galley proofs of the book. Do you want to check it out? And that was how he did it. That's not that romantic.
You know, you're right. That's practically what would have happened.
Yeah.
And then actually he could have taken it out, couldn't he, if she'd have said no? I mean, it'd be awkward otherwise, like when the paperback comes around.
You could have kept it from her and then it would have been at like the book launch, which would have been awful. I mean, can you imagine being like, I have launched a book and will you marry me? It just sounds like the height of preposterous arrogance.
Another fun, not fun one. Gloria Steinem dedicated her memoir to the doctor who gave her an illegal abortion in 1957.
Cool. Important.
That's pretty cool.
And this, I think, wins the award for biggest brown nose dedication. Edmund Spenser in The Fairy Queen in 1590. I won't read all of it, but you'll get the idea. To the most high, mighty, and magnificent Empress, renowned for piety, verity, and all gracious government, Elizabeth, by the grace of God, Queen of England, France and Ireland, and of Virginia, defender of her faith, her most humble servant, Edmund Spencer, doth in all humility, and it carries on, present and consecrate to live with the eternity of her fame. You're like, all right, we get it. You like the Queen.
Well, or you've got to suck up to the Queen to have a career.
Yes, well, this is the truth, isn't it? Like, the history of dedications actually comes from having to repay your patrons because they've put money down for you to do this job. And so you're actually saying this is for you because you've given me the money to allow me to write it. That's why people started doing dedications in the first place, usually to a monarch.
Yeah, you've got to be effusive or it's not going to cut through. Although you may think that a monarch might get a bit sick of everyone just grovelling to them. And
oh, totally.
Perhaps a bit of negging would be amusing for them for a change.
Yeah, I'm sure Elizabeth would rather have read The Bitch Queen.
My social media channels are a flaming hellscape. Just posting a video gets me bogged down in red tape. And then the bots troll me in a way I cannot escape. I just wanted to make friends.
With Squarespace, you control your site and no one insults you. You make the content that you want and attract your own crew. And only go to socials when you want to see something that's not true. And then shut the tab down.
And then run away. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring Answer Me This.
Yes. This time of year, people often think, this is the year I'm going to jack in my job and I'm going to become a judo instructor or whatever. Squarespace is a great way to market your side hustle and get your passion project going.
Or your front hustle.
Any hustle. Yeah, sure. Your back hustle.
Your under hustle.
They don't judge.
No, and you can do a members only area as well if you want under hustle content only for paying customers.
You can make a beautifully designed website using Squarespace in a laughably short amount of time.
Yeah, it is really such a doddle, which is nice because the hustle isn't. The hustle is often a bit of a pain, but this part of it is not.
You can do it in a few clicks and then just see. Like, one of the things you can do is you can add Acuity scheduling to your Squarespace website, which allows you to accept client bookings. You don't need to have any clients yet. You can just put that on your website and see if someone clicks it. And if they do, it'll look like you've got a proper setup there. You know, you can manage your appointments, you can accept their payments, you can send automatic reminders. And that's a great thing about Squarespace, is just like, see what the market takes you to.
If you want to try out Squarespace, go to squarespace.com/answer for a free trial. Then you have 2 weeks to build a website for free. Have a go on their features, choose yourself a template from their award-winning designs. And then if you like it, you can keep it, because when you're ready to launch, use the offer code
ANSWER
for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Here's a question from Annie from Canada, but currently living in California. She says, as a Canadian living in America, I'm looking to return to Canada for some possibly obvious reasons. And this means that I've been working on organising working interviews, meaning I'll be travelling back and forth to Canada a fair bit. Now, my current workplace is this very wholesome thing where every morning we have a meeting and I have to say what we did over the weekend, what we're looking forward to, stuff like that. So Ollie, answer me this. What do I say when I spend the weekend interviewing for new jobs? My current job does not yet know that I am planning to leave. So do I suddenly stay weirdly quiet about my personal life? Should I make up an elaborate web of lies featuring a spreadsheet and plan social media posts?
Of course, make life really hard for yourself by living a double life. No, that isn't what you do.
Yeah, just tell them the other stuff you did that weekend, like the thing you ate, or you went to visit your friend.
Yeah.
If her concern is that she thinks that she can't hide from her fellow workers that she travelled to Canada, she does have the perfect alibi for that, in that she is Canadian.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem that weird that a Canadian would frequently visit family and friends. And also, most Californians that you're speaking to probably haven't been to Canada, so that you just tell them something about your hometown or the town you went to.
Oh yeah, there was a moose riding tournament. Something that reads really Canadian to them.
Yeah. We went to a Tim Hortons. We played some ice hockey.
Had to tap some maple trees.
We participated in an assisted death. Whatever. There will be reasons people go to Canada. Just say them.
I fucked a bear.
Right.
It's hibernation season, Martin. They're not going to buy that.
Because I always find the expectation of recruiters that you have the time to spend hours in their recruitment process, but then you have to somehow keep it secret The stress of that is like a task on the traitors anyway. It's super stressful. They can't expect everyone to be good at it. The important thing is, as long as you're not actually saying the words to your current employer that you're looking for another job, what happens is if you then get the job, I've always felt that it's sort of like the end of a murder mystery. Like for the people around you, they can be like, oh, that's why they were acting weird. Now I see. So actually, like, you're worried about, like, am I going to come across as weird? Probably, but they probably won't say that to you. And then if you leave and you get the job, they'll say, oh, that's what you were doing. That's what you were doing on January the 20th when you couldn't tell us what you'd done at the weekend.
We thought you were having an affair.
I don't know that they're going to think about it that hard. If you're going back and forth to Canada a lot and you need an explanation for that and you don't want to pretend that a relative is ill or something, just say, I've been going back to help out a friend who's been going through some stuff and it's private to them, so I can't really talk about it. And that's fine. Yeah. I've got a friend who's been away for a lot of weekends recently for that reason, allegedly. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to pray. And I think people in California would understand the boundary there.
Yeah, I suppose what's clever about that as well is if you've laid some groundwork, then if there's actually a day you need to take off work and you need an alibi, you can blame your fictional friend.
Yeah, and your fictional friend's new baby and your fictional friend's elderly dog.
Right. Because I had this situation once, actually, when we started doing Answer Me This, I was a researcher on the Culture Show at the BBC, and that job I'd got whilst working in a different job. I was at ITV being a researcher in a much lower rent show. And I didn't particularly enjoy it. And I knew someone who worked at the Culture Show, and I'd been like harassing them for months, being like, if anything ever comes up, please let me know, please let me know. And she said, look, you're not supposed to know about this because it's only supposed to be available to internal applicants, but I know they're not going to find an internal applicant that's good enough. So why don't you email the producer and just say, if you don't find someone, I'm interested. So I tried that, waited, nothing happened for ages. And then suddenly it was like, sure, can you come in tomorrow? And I was like,
oh, for fuck's sake.
How can I do that? So as it happened, what I was supposed to be doing that day was leaving the office by myself. I was supposed to be making sizzle reels with a photographer called Morris. I was like, okay, I can pretend that I'm with Morris all day, even though I know my producer will know that that's only 2 hours work. I'm going to have to pretend that that took all day, and then I'll actually go to the BBC and participate in a full interview process and somehow get the stuff in the can with Morris that will look acceptable. So, of course, what it looked like was just I was really shit and incompetent at my job that day to my producer, because it was like he was calling me at 11 and I was not answering the call because I was in the interview. And then it got to like 2 and I answered the call and I was like, oh, hi. And he was like, you're not back? And I was like, oh, no, I mean, it's just I've just got here. And he was like, right, it's in North London. I mean, it only takes 40 minutes where you live. And I was like, oh, really? Oh, I haven't had any phone service. And I was like, I have to pretend to be a dick in this situation. But then you knowing the satisfaction that, okay, when I tell him, he'll be like, oh, that's why. Okay. I looked incompetent at my job, but I was actually being doubly competent. I was actually being extraordinary at my job. I was getting a job done on top of doing another thing.
So your double competence cancelled itself out, damn it.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
But also, if you're going to leave anyway, then do you really give a shit about them thinking badly of you, as long as you get that job?
Hi, it's Stephen Chicken in Yorkshire. Welcome back, guys. Really looking forward to some hot AMT action. The hotness is at your discretion.
Hi, Helen and Ollie. I'm so glad you guys are back.
I just wanted to say that I am super excited about your return.
This is Charlie from Letchworth, now living in Brighton. A massive welcome back. Although it doesn't really feel like a welcome back for me because you've, frankly, never left my headphones over the years.
Hello, Helen, Ollie, and Martin the Sound Bag, as I assume he is now called forever. I'm so excited that Answer Me This is back. Thank you.
The last few years have thrown up many unpleasant surprises, so it makes the surprise of your return all the more pleasant. I've already signed up for the Patreon and I'm hoping that you get enough support to make this resurrection permanent.
It's Joe from Cornwall here. I have no reason for calling you whatsoever. I'm just checking this phone line to see it's still active after 9 years. Happy to see that it is.
Hi, Helen and Ollie. It's Craig from Townsville in Australia. Really glad to have you guys back.
My name's Sarah Rose. I'm originally from New Zealand, but I now live in Stockport. And I'm still curious about a question I originally asked in 2009.
This is Kirsten calling from Vancouver, Canada. As soon as I say Helen and Ollie, my brain goes, Helen and Ollie, answer me this. I don't want you to dance or kiss.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Lots of love.
Love you guys. Bye.
Before we play you the next question, content warning, bagpipes.
This is Sarah from San Mateo, and I am so happy that Answer Me This is back. My daughter recently started playing the bagpipes, and we wear earplugs while she's practicing, but I've noticed sometimes the dogs get alarmed. Are dogs particularly sensitive to bagpipe sounds, and should we be putting some kind of ear protection on them? Thank you so much.
Sarah, if you're wearing earplugs, the dog's hearing is much more sensitive than human hearing. No wonder the dog is not enjoying this loud, piercing instrument.
Yeah.
Dogs are alerted to loud noises, and this one is at a particularly violent pitch for them. Our family dogs used to howl as well when my brother played the harmonica. These are shrill noises for them. You can get ear protectors for dogs, such as mutt muffs, or the Rex Specs Ear Pro, developed by the military for dogs that were put into a lot of loud environments like helicopters or big kennels full of other military dogs or shooting ranges.
What do they look like?
They look kind of like if you put a really tight sleeve over your dog's head. So it doesn't look like the kind of thing every dog would tolerate having put on it.
Like a snood for dogs?
Like a tight snood, yeah.
So not headphones?
The mutt muffs do look more like headphones. They warn that dogs' hearing can get permanently damaged if exposed to prolonged sounds for long enough, because there are these hair cells in a dog's inner ear, the stereocilia, which can get fatigued. And if the dog is subjected to really loud noise for a long time, these get fatigued so much that they don't work anymore and the dog's brain doesn't get any more sound information from the ear. I, however, don't think that being in the same house as your daughter practicing the bagpipes is likely to damage the dog's ears, but it is likely to damage your daughter's ears. People who are practicing bagpipes in an enclosed environment for more than 15 minutes wear ear defenders, and that's adults. Children, like, even more so, because the decibels are so loud if you're inside particularly, as loud as a chainsaw. I don't want to fearmong here, but this is actually a really common problem for bagpipe players. There's a lot of health problems that come from bagpipes. The most famous is bagpipe lung.
Oh, I was just about to say I would have thought that would be the benefit, because like swimming, you're taking big breaths.
Oh, no. That can actually, particularly in young players, like the hyperventilation and increased intrathoracic pressure can make them faint, and some of them, it can cause them lung problems.
It's worth it for such a beautiful sound, though.
You've got to sacrifice for your art.
But bagpipe lung is not that. Bagpipe lung is you're blowing hot, germy air into a bag, and it can make them mouldy. So if you don't clean your bagpipe bag relatively often, then it can give you a disease that has killed a bagpipe player, at least one.
There are electronic bagpipes, apparently.
Oh, no, thanks.
It looks like they're not blowing into them. It's all the drones and things have been generated electronically. You can practice your playing, but not your breathing, I guess, if you're doing that.
Hello, this is Verity from London, and I use she, her pronouns. Helen and Ollie, answer me this. Do ginger shots actually do anything? I have become a devotee of the old ginger shot since it started appearing on supermarket shelves. But I fear it might not be doing anything except making me feel smug and my throat feel warm.
Well, there's some value to smugness and throat warmth in itself.
Oh, I think shelling out money so that you feel smug is the reason that a lot of print publications still exist. I mean, if it's a placebo, so what? I think this is much undervalued in our society. If it makes you feel good, then it's worth it to you, isn't it? Whether scientifically or medically it's doing anything.
If it makes you happy.
Exactly, Martin. Cheryl had it right.
Helen used to be big into these, and then she stopped, and I think it might have been because I was slightly teasing her for her shot habit, and every time we went to a supermarket, I'd be like, shots, shots, shots.
It was for a couple of reasons. I love the ones from Pret a Manger, which is like a little square bottle with like a little spicy juice in it. I don't like buying plastic bottles if I can avoid it, so I rarely get myself one. And also just a lot of them are shit, like they're deliberately disgusting tasting. Not the Pret one, the Pret one's great, but the other ones that have like black pepper in, I'm like, well, you've made that taste disgusting so people think it's important.
So it's healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not.
What would be an appropriate container for that's not a plastic bottle then?
Well, I could just make my own at home, but it's not the same.
Well, or they could do it at the counter, like a bartender. Get me a ginger shot. You know, in a little shot glass.
They could spray it directly into your mouth from across the counter.
Like Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I take Benecol for cholesterol, and I I take that because I do believe that there's a medical benefit to it, but it is a daily plastic bottle. And I know that you can recycle them, but I feel...
But most of them are not recycled.
I don't want to be doing that. Why don't they sell Benecol in a 2-litre bottle and I can make my own shots at home? I don't understand. Like, it's off yogurt. Surely it doesn't need to be preserved in an airtight container. I get through 7 shots a week, so I could buy a big one. But you cannot buy a big Benecol.
The Pret-a-Manger juice shots, I enjoyed them. I like a drink that's a bit fiery, but they did make me feel more energized. Like if I was really tired, 2 spicy juice shots. I don't know whether it's just psychological or because it's quite an invigorating flavour to drink a fiery drink. Ginger has been considered a health-giving ingredient for millennia. I don't know how accurate up-to-date scientific research is, but there is fairly consistent demonstration that ginger does work for lots of things like nausea, pain, inflammation, that kind of thing.
But the point is you could shave off a little bit of ginger and stick it in your tea anyway, right? You don't have to have the shot.
Oh, yeah.
The shot is marketing, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it's an intense amount of ginger rather than a pleasant flavouring in something else.
Here's a question from Anya, who says, I live in Germany, but I always stock up on typical British foodstuffs for the whole family when I'm back in the UK. This includes Marmite, crumpets, Lee and Perrins, custard, chocolate Yule logs, wasn't expecting that one, Bisto gravy granules, stuffing mixture, and also Branston pickle.
Yum.
So, Helen, answer me this. What actually is Branston pickle and where does it come from?
Well, for people who have never encountered it before, Branston pickle is a dark brown, sweetish, tangy, spiced, savoury chutney. I think in US English, pickle means pickled cucumbers, whereas British English uses pickle to mean also things like this, that's more like chutney or American relish. It contains vegetables in variable proportions, 52%, carrot, rutabaga, which is Swede in British English, so it's interesting that it's listed as rutabaga on the British ingredients, onion, cauliflower, sugar, barley malt vinegar, water, spirit vinegar, tomato puree, date paste, brackets, dates, rice flour, close brackets,
right,
salt, apple pulp, modified maize starch, colour, brackets, sulfite ammonia, caramel, close brackets, onion powder, concentrated lemon juice, spices, colouring food, brackets, roasted barley malt extract, close brackets, herb and spice extracts. That's it. Same recipe as when it was invented in 1922.
Oh, I thought it was going to be older than that.
Cross and Blackwell at the time was like a vinegar, preserves, oils, like ingredients company. Anya asks, where does Branston pickle come from? Originally, it came from the village of Branston in Staffordshire, where Cross and Blackwell had moved their factory from Soho Square in 1921, because Soho Square is in central London. There's not much room for expansion there.
So Soho Square pickle would have a different ring to it, wouldn't it?
Very. So in 1921, Cross and Blackwell bought a machine gun factory, which had been commissioned during the Second World War, but finished after the armistice and has never actually made machine guns. And then it didn't last long there either. In 1925, they moved back to London and it fucked employment opportunities in Branston so much that people boycotted the product. But in their brief time in Branston, they started making Branston pickle from a recipe attributed to Mrs. Caroline Graham and her daughters Evelyn and Ermintrude.
Don't get many Ermintrudes nowadays, do you?
You don't. I maybe haven't had it in the right recipe, is what I would say charitably.
Well, you don't really put it in a recipe. It is just to go with cheese and occasionally ham.
Well, then I hate it. Okay, if it just goes with cheese, I don't like it. Every time I come with an open mind and I'm like, no, I definitely don't like this. Why do I keep making myself eat it?
Well, I'm impressed that you have tried many times. You've gone above and beyond. You like a pickled onion though, Wally, don't you?
I love a pickled onion.
Yeah,
I love a pickle, but I'm sad because Barry Normans have been discontinued.
I heard about that.
The younger generation just don't know who Barry Norman is, do they? They're probably getting their pickled onions from Justin Bieber.
I didn't know. I didn't know who Paul Newman was till I was about 30. I still like the Caesar dressing.
Yeah. I'd also say that it's pretty fun to watch the documentary about Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward that Ethan Hawke made, even though a lot of it is frustratingly not well made because he was doing it over lockdown on some really fuzzy zooms. I'm like, get it together, Ethan Hawke, and your film friends. What the hell? But anyway, if you're watching any film about a salad dressing magnate...
It's the best. Mm-hmm. Until Scorsese does that Lloyd Grossman biopic.
Oh my goodness. When?
DiCaprio to star.
Jason Schwartzman could do it.
Here's a question from Ewan from Aberdeen who says, Ollie, answer me this. What type of beans are baked beans.
I'm taking this to mean, really, that there's a Z on the end of that question and we're talking about Heinz beans.
I assumed.
Let's start there because they're the market leader. Those are navy beans, which are a type of haricot bean.
Well, okay, the name of this kind of bean really pisses me off, right? It's navy bean in the US. So that's US-centric because the US Navy served those beans. Haricot bean just means bean. They're also called white beans. Okay. Loads of beans are white. They're called Boston beans. That's Boston-centric. What has this bean got to do to get an interesting name?
Hold on. There is an American leaning to all beans because beans come from the New World and that area. Point is, there was an American idea of beans, and Boston beans was pork and beans, wasn't it? And the Heinz bean was pork and beans, Boston beans, trying to be sold here in the UK, which they then took the pork out of because of World War II rationing. And then it turned out that Britons preferred the vegan product to the one with the sausages in it. And ever since, we've been having it on things that people around the world find improbable. Any haricot bean will serve as Heinz-style beans if you want to make your own at home, which you can do with stock, Worcestershire sauce, ketchup, cider vinegar, garlic powder, onion powder, and corn flour. But really, why not just buy a tin of beans? It's a lot cheaper.
Not here, probably.
No, not here. It's a luxury price
It's
here.
like $5 for a can of beans. But what's funny is it is an indigenous dish, like baked beans or like beans in maple syrup, which is the more kind of Canadian way of having it. So it's funny that it's not more popular. I guess just, you don't know where things are going to take off, do you? For some reason, the British took it to their hearts like tea.
It is astonishing how popular it is here when you think about it.
Yeah.
50,000 tons of beans, navy beans, whatever you want to call them, are shipped annually.
That's such a disgusting thought.
To Liverpool and delivered every day to the Heinz factory in Wigan in 2-ton bags.
Sad news for Miri from earlier. The Baked Bean Museum of Excellence in Port Talbot, Wales, shut down in 2023.
Oh.
That is a shame.
There is a Heinz History Centre in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So maybe they've got a gift shop with beans products.
Good news for Miri. You can buy Heinz bean-related merchandise directly from their website.
That's not a museum, though. That's different. Merch isn't museum.
I know, but you could very much pretend you'd been to a fictional museum of beans by buying a bespoke, personalised birthday tin of beans. How much do you think they charge for that?
Oh.
So it says Martin's Beans on it, and it gets delivered to your house, and it is a can of Heinz beans. How much?
I'm going to guess, if it's in the UK, £8.
Yeah.
Not including post.
Yeah, Martin?
I'm going to say, I think like a tenner including postage.
It's £6.49. I think that's actually really good value for a branded thing. Like, there can't be much profit in that for them, can there? Like, taking the time to write your name on it.
That's a bargain.
Answer me this. Hampton Court was Henry VIII's home. The O2 Arena was the Millennium Dome. Wasn't it? I went to see you in your room, but it had been turned into a Weatherspoon. So I ordered a 2-for-1 curry and a macaroon, but they don't sell macaroons. Do they? I just ate both curries, and now I regret that.
Here's a question from Sandy who says, my daughter had her bat mitzvah 3 years ago. While cleaning our house recently, I came across some cards and even a gift that she received that we did not send a thank you for.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has made any comments about our lack of thank you cards, even though we would deserve such remarks. So, Helen, answer me this. Should we send belated thank you cards or let sleeping dogs lie? We have no excuse for being so late, other than disorganisation. Maybe people have forgotten all about the lack of a thank you card by now. You think? Perhaps sending the cards will remind the gift givers that we never sent thank you notes in the first place. What should we do?
Ollie, answer me this. I never sent out the thank you cards in return for our wedding presents in 2011.
What?
Do you think it's too late now?
I'm outraged. You've just reminded me that I never received a thank you card in 2011 after your wedding.
And we had such a big plan for it too.
It's so elaborate.
Because our honeymoon was a road trip and our wedding present was people contributing money to that. And as we went on the road trip, we had a whiteboard that we would like take pictures of in different cool locations with a letter on it. And I was supposed to make collages of people's names as the thank you cards.
Hard work.
I know, hard work, very silly of me to commit that because I'm always overcommitting and under-delivering.
Yeah.
And also 2 weeks after we got back from honeymoon, my mum was in a very serious car crash, which really took up a lot of my time for some weeks and months after.
Yeah. So are you asking seriously? Did I notice? No, I didn't notice that you didn't say, because you would have said thank you on the day, and you would have probably said thank you when I next saw you, and that would be enough. I mean, aren't thank you cards really for people that you don't see? I mean, isn't that the point? So who cares?
I think that I've not kept an account of people who have thanked me for a wedding present.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a question about the statute of limitations, isn't it? This is a question about how long is too long.
It's past. It's done.
It's totally done. I mean, I feel... Yeah. If you think of things in seasons...
6 months?
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say the end of the next consecutive season. So if the bat mitzvah's in the spring, then by the end of the summer, the thank you cards need to have gone out.
Yeah.
Even the end of the calendar year.
I was going to say, in that particular example, maybe a Christmas card, or I suppose a Hanukkah card in your case at the end of the year, then you can say, you can remind people that that's the thing that happened in that year, maybe send a photo of the event as the card or something. But even then, when I get one of those, I'm like, stop making yourself the hero in my story. Your event wasn't that important to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you've missed the opportunity to send the thank you card. Stop lingering on it. So, yes, you've definitely missed the opportunity and nobody cares. That's my view.
At the same time, fixating on a small social infraction that I committed 1, 2, or 10 years ago is something that I definitely do. So I understand the compulsive desire to flood the postal service with thank you cards, 3 years later, but I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, I'll tell you what's much more mortifying from my perspective, something that happened this year. Went to the wedding of our good friends, Becky and Neil. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you. They had one of those digital... I sound like a really old person now. One of those digital wedding lists. You can't just go to John Lewis. You have to click a button. But the digital wedding list, which we were aware of and had bookmarked, they shut that wedding list 2 days before the wedding.
Oh, shit.
So like everyone else, we left it to the last minute and on the way to the wedding, we're like, because they had a digital wedding list, like if they hadn't, we would have got them a present. But because they had a digital wedding list, we were like, oh, we'll fill in that thing. And it was a link to their honeymoon pot as well. That was an option. Like we could have just given money. But the link had gone down. It had shut because the wedding in inverted commas had started because they were doing some pre-wedding events.
No.
And I was like, they fucked up there. Like you don't...
You really did.
You tell it to shut down like a month after the event, not the 2 days before. And anyway, having realised that we then had lost the opportunity, I was like, this is really embarrassing. What are we going to do? We've got nothing. So we got them a physical card. And in the physical card, we said, really sorry we missed your wedding list thing. Let us take you for dinner to your favourite restaurant when you get back from your honeymoon.
Very nice.
And of course, they never contacted us after they got back from their honeymoon about that.
Funny man win.
No, the opposite. I owe them a wedding present. And then when we've seen them in socially, I've been like, hey, we should do that restaurant thing. Give us a date and we can buy it. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm like, no, I owe you the wedding, but we need to take you to dinner because it is bothering me and making me anxious.
Well, I think this shows that for some, gifts are of the moment, and for others, they are a debt.
An obligation.
That never gets cancelled out.
Absolutely. Also, getting a 16-year-old to write thank you cards for a present you gave them when they were 13. Like, there's nothing that they're going to still be using or like. So, I mean, it would be insincere anyway.
The best thank you.
Hi, Helen, Ollie, and Martin the Soundman. I'm so glad you're back. This is Karen from Denver. Last time we spoke, back in 2016, I was just finishing up my first semester of med school, and now I'm a board-certified pediatrician. But more importantly, I'm also gay now, and as is my right as a lesbian, I've joined my local roller derby team.
Lovely life update.
I love the tone of voice which said, oh, and I'm gay now. Wonderful.
Pediatrician, gay, roller derbist.
Part of the culture is choosing a roller derby name that's punny or fearsome, or in a lot of cases, dirty. So, Helen and Ollie, answer me this. What would your roller derby names be? Thanks. Bye.
I mean, you're going to have to explain this to me. I don't know what a roller derby is, really. I mean, it's roller skating, right, at a roller rink, but where do teams come into it?
Well, because there's two teams.
It's competitive, right?
They go round and round very fast. And there's more rules that are massively simplifying it.
There's more rules than they go round and round really fast. Surely not.
If you were watching it, that's what you would take.
Yeah,
it's people going round and round really fast. It's a very exciting sport. I did go once because I made an Illusionist episode about roller derby names in 2019. and I interviewed some roller derbists.
Is it particularly popular with lesbians? Is that a trope you're aware of? Or
Didn't ask everybody.
Okay.
The tradition with names, but not everywhere, is a pun. Often one that is something to do with the sport, so about wheels or something like that, or about violence. So like Lucille Brawl.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
Which I got off derbyrollcall.com, which is an automatic registration of every roller derbist's name that they can get a hold of, because generally it's the etiquette not to use one that's already in use.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay.
So the ones in the US and UK tended towards these puns with violence, but then other countries it was just like a funny word or a variation on their own name, or just like hell yeah or something like that.
There's something that I read that was quite, maybe Helen knows this, that I thought was quite interesting. It says a couple of things. First of all, in the heat of roller battle, they'll be shouting like a shortened version of your name. So like if there's someone on your team called like Smasheroni, don't call yourself Smashtastic or Smash Brother, because then they'll just be saying Smash and you won't know who they're talking to.
It's got to be abbreviable.
Yeah, exactly. And another one, like if it's 2 words, they might not pick the word you like. So the example I gave was, you're in trouble. You're going to get urine shouted at you for the rest of your roller derby career.
Well, that's inevitable anyway. As a man with a regularly dislocating shoulder, I'm not going to realistically be going anywhere near a roller skate ever again. But I suppose, I mean, this isn't very imaginative of me. I haven't given this a lot of thought, but I mean, obviously my name has a pun in it, so I'd be crazy not to go with, Man of Steel or a superhero type flavour, I think, using the MANN.
I thought we were going to use Ollie because it's like a sort of skateboarding thing where like you flip up or something.
Yeah, but that's skateboarding.
I know.
Don't bring a skateboard to a roller fight.
It's true.
That's it. That is what they say in roller derby.
I really struggled with this because I thought, well, it ought to be easy because there's hell in my name, and that is quite a popular
Hellfire
roller derby trope. But then the good ones have been taken.
Can I just throw it in the ring? Helen Wheels.
It's got to be done already.
Helena Handcart was one we came up with early in the days of the show.
Yeah.
That is quite good.
I do really like that. But
you don't want to be called Cart, though, when they abbreviate it down.
I don't mind it. I think probably someone's using it already, but also it's not that shoutable, is it? It's so many syllables and it's not very strong sounds. I don't think it's going to carry across the reverberance of that room in my theoretical roller derby career, which will definitely never happen because I'm scared.
Okay, well, mine are, if you're interested, Dirty Martini.
Oh,
as a
that's good.
Yeah.
There is a Dirty Martini in Liverpool, or as a left field choice, scrambled eggs. Which isn't a pun on my name, but I feel like it goes into like my egg thing, and like it's just like whipping around the track, like someone like whipping up some eggs. So I'm quite either of those. I don't drink alcohol, so Dirty Martini is more of an Ollie name, honestly. But.
This strikes me as a fun thing for you guys to chip in on. If you have
please give
an
us
idea,
anoint us with names
for either Helen's roller derby name or mine, or indeed Martin's, please send your suggestions to the very same place you can send us a question.
And you can find how to send them via voice or email, along with a lot of other stuff, upon our website, which is
answermethispodcast.com.
Thanks very much to all of you who have Patreonized the show at patreon.com/answermethis. It's extremely good of you.
There's already a community of around 600 people on there, which is brilliant. If we can get over 1,000 people on there, that really is a sizable community, so we'd really appreciate it. So if you can afford it, patreon.com/answermethis.
We've really enjoyed your comments. We've really enjoyed your encouragement. It's wonderful. And you will be rewarded. And, of course, the three of us have other stuff going on as well.
I do 3 other podcasts. You can find them all at olliemann.com. But just to pick one for you to highlight, The Modern Man, with 2 N's, like a roller derby name, is my monthly magazine show, which is itself celebrating its 10th birthday in October. In each episode of The Modern Man, we test out trends, interview people about their life stories, and answer sex and relationship questions. So to give you a sample, this month the trend is smart telescopes. The interview is with a MasterChef star who opened his dream London restaurant and then had to close it down. And the sex question is, should you put Botox in your bum? If that appeals to you, the podcast, not necessarily the Botox, then search for The Modern Man with 2 N's. Wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, I'm on a little break from The Illusionist at the moment so that I can do this. But all of the back catalogue is there at theillusionist.org. And if you want to listen to the episode about roller derby names, it's called Alter Ego.
Oh, I should have listened to that in preparation for this, and then I'd know what one was.
There's 10 years of the show for you to catch up on. There's tranquillusionists, which are specifically to help you de-stress and fall asleep and stop your interior monologue from screaming for a while. And there's episodes like recently, Martin and I hung out with the science fiction author Mary Robinette Kowal, who converses with her cat via buttons programmed with human language. That was cool. Anyway, find all of that at theillusionist.org and in the pod places.
Oh, the other exciting thing that's happened since we've been on a break is that Sam Pay and I finished our 8-year mission to talk about every Tom Waits song, one episode at a time.
Is Tom Waits still alive?
He is still alive.
So there's a chance. So you say you've completed. There's a chance, isn't there? Tom Waits could record another song, and then you'd have to do another episode.
He might put out more music. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's certainly done a couple more films since we finished the podcast. Although they've not been released yet. So yeah, if you're interested in that, or you're just Tom Waits curious, check out Song by Song podcast on your podcatcher of choice.
Remember as well, you can buy our first 200 episodes, our best of collections, and our exclusive albums at answermethisstore.com. We get more money if you buy it from us directly rather than from Apple or Amazon, so do that. And the date for your diaries for the next edition of Answer Me This, because we're scheduling episodes for the last Thursday of each month this time round, is going to be February 27th.
And also March 27th, because February being 4 weeks long.
Right. Oh, wow. That's a good fact, isn't it? Yeah. Managed to squeeze in additional fat right at the end there.
It's an adequate fact. Little children know that about February.
Sure.
I've got better, is
Okay.
what I'm saying. I've got better stuff to give.
Bye!